Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Glad to have you with us this morning. Happy Wednesday. Sorry, today is Thursday, September 18th, 2025, and September is Workforce Development Month. So we are very pleased to celebrate this month with you, the work that all of us do to ensure that people have access to good jobs. Whether you are an employer, a workforce practitioner, we're all in the business of workforce development. So we appreciate you taking some time with us today to continue to sharpen your own steel and learn about new ways to promote the workforce. Would love to have you introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know your name, what organization you're with, maybe what part of the state you're in. Tony Davis kicked us off here, workforce coordinator with KIPP Atlanta Schools. Thank you, Tony, for being here, and thanks for getting us started with the chat train. And as we go through today, we also encourage you to use that React button down at the bottom of your screen to engage with and encourage our speakers. If you hear something you like, something you agree with, something that's interesting, exciting, thought-provoking, use that React tool to let them know that you kind of stirred some thoughts for them. So today, we have a really great agenda. We'll give an introduction again to CareerRise, who we are, what we do, in case you haven't heard of us before or you're a little new to us. We'll have a work source welcome. And then we have our main program today about early exposure to early careers. We'll give a preview of the Youth Employment Playbook that we've developed in concert with Accenture, and then we'll have a panel with two employers who have implemented youth work-based learning. We'll have time for Q&A, and then we'll get you wrapped up and out of here by 12 o'clock. So first, in case you are new to CareerRise, this is your first time attending one of our webinars, welcome. Thank you for being here. A little bit about us. CareerRise is a nonprofit organization based in Atlanta. We serve the Atlanta metro region and beyond. And our mission is to expand access to opportunities and resources that promote economic mobility, support skilled workers, champion good jobs, and strengthen communities. So all of the things that we all do as workforce development professionals, that's our mission, to do those things and make it easier for those of you who are workforce practitioners or employers to do the same. We also want to be the leading funder collaborative that convenes employers, job seekers, community resources, foster workforce opportunities that enable individuals to succeed, to strengthen businesses, and to drive economic mobility. That's what we're all about here at CareerRise. I like to say that CareerRise has two real programmatic wings right now. One is Westside Works, the other is Industry Partnerships. The Industry Partnerships team hosts this webinar series, so I'd like to tell a little bit about who we are and what we do. In a sentence, I say that we make workforce development easier for employers and those who support them. And how we do that is by educating our partners about and help them navigate through the workforce development ecosystem. There are a lot of players in this game, and it's not always easy to know who does what, where, why, and how. So we help to provide information and guidance in interacting with this system. We help create alignment and drive toward common goals. If you are in businesses across a particular industry, you all have the same goals, the same needs. How can we collaborate and work together to achieve those things, even across industries, across business sizes, or even taking out the label of business? All of us in the workforce development arena have some shared goals. So how can we collaborate to make those things happen? And then we help build capacity and provide support for employers by offering low-risk programming. And when I say low risk, I mean, typically speaking, there is no requirement for paying into these services or paying to participate in projects from businesses. What we really ask for is an investment of time, open-mindedness, and a desire to make workforce work. So the webinar series is where we provide innovative and practical ideas, tools, and resources to empower employers. We focus our work around 5 strategies or pillars that really affect all businesses. The first one, hiring, candidate sourcing, and workforce planning, is all about needing people right now and in the immediate future. How do we create those structures and those processes to find the workforce that is available? Next is training and registered apprenticeships. How do we ensure that our workforce has the right skills for the jobs of today and tomorrow? Employment success support is about removing the barriers that prohibit people or make it more difficult to obtain or maintain employment. So thinking about things like transportation, housing, childcare, healthcare, dependent care. Those are all things that can impact a person's ability to find a job, stay in a job, and we want to make it easier for the workforce to stay working. Quality careers and workplaces is about going beyond a job and creating a career opportunity for people, creating the kind of workplace and the kinds of jobs that are designed to help workers succeed and that workers would choose given a myriad of options. And then lastly, career awareness and promotion. As I like to say, we want to steer our young people away from some of those pie in the sky career opportunities like a TikTok influencer or pro gamer, pro athlete. Not to say that you can't succeed in life with those things, but looking at our economy, we need skilled laborers. We need healthcare practitioners. We need people working in logistics to ensure that the supply chain is moving efficiently. So we help raise awareness and prepare our young people for entering those high demand careers in high demand industries. And today it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Brett Lacey, the Managing Director of Workforce Solutions at Atlanta Regional Commission and WorkSource Atlanta Regional, to give us our WorkSource welcome. So Brett, take it away.
Well, thanks, Nate, and good morning, everybody. I think I can promise that we won't have an interruption this month during our welcome to welcome some special guests and celebrate a retirement. But thrilled you're joining us this morning. If this is your first webinar with us, welcome. We're glad you could make it. If you have been to our webinar series before, welcome back. Thrilled that you're coming back and seeing the value of what we're offering here. In terms of the conversation and tips and tools for you to implement in your space. I think we got a great panel and conversation this morning from some representatives from Bryson Constructors who, if you've ever flown through Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, you have touched some of the work of Bryson Constructors and the impact that they have had on this city. They have been longtime supporters of our workforce program and have been longtime supporters of really finding those pathways for our youth to enter into very high-skilled, high-demand jobs. So thrilled that they're here this morning sharing some of that expertise and that work with us. Again, as Nate said, just feel free to ask questions or comments in the chat. We look forward to hearing what we have on deck this morning. So thank you and welcome to our webinar this month.
Thank you, Brett. So today, looking back at those 5 strategies that I just alluded to, we're talking about career awareness and promotion today and how businesses can play a role in creating those work experiences for today's youth and how they can create the space, create the opportunity to learn about those careers and even get some hands-on experience so that they are prepared to enter the workforce. A slide that I wanted to share today actually flows right into why this matters. There are, I heard this phrase or this term, this year is peak 18, which means starting this year, there will be fewer and fewer young people entering the workforce um, because of population shrinkage, because of immigration tightening. We are going to have fewer people in our workforce than we have before. So the number of available workers is going down. That means the competition for talent is only going to get more intense. And that is why it is so important for us as a workforce community, as a business community, to plan how we're going to engage with young people and get them prepared to enter the workforce so that we can make the most of our available talent. So I'm really speaking to my colleagues in industry and business today, thinking about the role you play in shaping the future workforce. So whether you're hosting young talent or connecting them to opportunities, today we're going to talk through some of the tools and insights you can use to take action. The content outlined in our presentation will also explore how you can build more equitable systems and how your organization can lead the way. Uh, Also wanted to share that this is a bit of a preview for a youth employment workshop that we're hosting in a couple of weeks on October 2nd. So if you're an employer who is interested in developing a relationship with your local schools to start building that future pipeline, or just inspiring young people to enter your industry, or if you want to go all the way to developing a youth apprenticeship or internship, this is some of the content we'll cover. We would love to have you join us at that workshop. So my shameless plug aside, what we would walk through in this is sort of identifying a North Star. And our North Star is, how do we create stronger systems to connect youth to meaningful work experiences? And how we would do that with you as a business is by clarifying your role, create your plan for engagement, committing to action, and then using that action to drive system change. So here's how it works. Um, First, to create your youth working experience, um, you need to establish your own North Star. What is the purpose for your business, your organization, to become involved in youth work experience? And what is the impact you want to make that's aligned with your business need? Is it that you have some entry level field or entry level positions you want to potentially fill, and that they could be filled by high school students or recent high school graduates? Or is it that you simply want to expose young people to your industry, get them interested in, excited about, knowledgeable of your industry and your business? Or do you simply want to provide the tools and resources for young people to be successful when they enter the workforce? Identify what your North Star is. What's your purpose? And how does it, and what is your business need that aligns with those things? Um, and then, of course, take a look at your business, identify where support is needed, and align that with roles that create mutual benefit. So again, if you're thinking about something like a youth internship or a high school internship, take a look at some of those roles in your company that might be suitable for someone with a high school education. And how might you fill those roles with these young people? And then next, you would design your approach. Map out exactly how the experience will be structured, supported, and sustained. So what is it going to look like from before day one for that student and for your business? Um, who in your business is going to be involved in supporting that young person, liaising with the school, uh, supervising and mentoring the young person, creating a plan around the experiences they'll have while they're with you, and how are you going to sustain it after that student leaves? You know, what's the next version, the next cycle look like? It's also important to define what a work experience is or could be. And as I mentioned, there are a lot of different ways that you can engage with youth, engage with students to prepare them to enter the workforce or give them that career awareness and exposure and promotion. So one of the first things you could do is offer field trips to your local schools. Allow them to come in and see in real life what it looks like. We love the phrase, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And that rings very true when it comes to occupational training. I'm in Leadership Max, and our group took a trip to the Kia plant in West Point. And there are lots of jobs and tasks and things that go on in a automobile manufacturing plant that I have no context or history of. And without that, I couldn't decide whether or not that's for me. So offering field trips or opportunities for young people to come in and just hear about the kinds of jobs that you offer is a great first step and kind of a low bar to entry for a business. Next is job shadowing. There is nothing, I think, that can really let a person know whether a job is for them or not than letting them see what it looks like in real life. I've had the opportunity to do some job shadowing as a college student, as a professional adult, and got to learn about, oh, this would be really exciting for me to do. However, X, Y, and Z also inform me that this is not for me. So job shadowing is a great way to give a student a day's or a couple days worth of experience to learn more about your business and your industry. Next thing you can do is take it to a summer or an academic year internship. This is a great opportunity to partner with your local school, give a young person an opportunity to really get some hands-on learning. And this is where you identify what is that business need we have? What is that position that we could potentially create or fill with a high school student? And how do I partner with my local school to make that happen? And then last on this sort of career spectrum is creating a part-time job. The summer and academic year internships are limited term engagements. That student will be with you for a certain period of time. Part-time job is a longer term engagement. And maybe that student won't be with you forever, but the job will always be there. So you can always fill it with a young person. So these are just some examples of work experiences, ways that you as a business could engage with your schools and with young people. So what's the return on investment for something like youth work experiences? Why should your business do it? So um, first stat is that it really benefits to engage early. 70% of employers end up extending full-time offers to their interns, meaning they have a captive audience learning how their business operates, how the role operates, and what the expectations are. And then you can bring that person in full-time, having trained them in the way that you want them to be trained. So I think that is a huge benefit. For recruitment, stronger processes lead to better engagement and successful transitions into the organization. So you could think of an internship like an extended onboarding. Really helps that person move into your company full time or part time and to be more successful hitting the ground running. Development. Interns that engage in meaningful tasks and have mentors during their internship are more likely to seek out full-time opportunities with that company. So again, that internship, that work-based learning experience really creates a lot of stickiness, a lot of retention. So a great tool there. Conversion, 80% of interns accept full-time offers because it's a known quantity. They have already established the relationships. So that really highlights the importance of creating that clear growth path from internship to full-time. And then intern to full-time pathways lead to high retention. 72% of full-time hires, of intern to full-time hires, stay for at least 1 year, and then 44% stay on for 5 years. That's a pretty good retention rate, especially considering the job market of today, where people tend to hop jobs more frequently. So that internship to full-time, you're getting a much better retention on your by investing in a young person. So these are some of the roles you might consider depending on your industry. And there are some industries that say we absolutely can't do this. We don't know how to bring a young person on site. It's not safe. Um, Looking especially at construction and manufacturing, but there are roles for young people in those industries as well. And I could give you examples off the top of my head, but just looking at some of the roles that they might be able to take on by industry. In technology, IT support assistant, young people are already doing this, teaching their parents and grandparents how to use technology. So that is a good role for them to be able to step into. In healthcare, some of those administrative roles are a really good fit. In the skilled trades, having someone as an auto shop assistant who can observe diagnostics and assist with simple tasks is a good role to take. Looking at transportation, distribution, and logistics, a warehouse assistant, think your picker packer, your sorter, someone who can do those sort of repetitive tasks, gets them experience in the environment and in those concepts that they would need. I'm not going to go through the entire list here, but you have opportunities here listed for job shadowing, internships, part-time jobs, lots of different ways you can slice this for a young person to get involved in your industry. So how do you share opportunities? Let's say you want to offer this or you have this opportunity, you want to share it. Um, Two really good pathways. First is partnering with your local school. Your local schools are dying to get in the door with you. They really want to partner with you, but they don't always have a clear path to get in the door, or maybe you want to work with them and don't know quite how to make that happen. But your schools are your local high schools, especially those with career technical education classes, are going to have those students that are a good fit for you and are a great place to market your opportunities. And then also your local nonprofits that work with youth are going to be a great fit for finding those students who are interested in job shadowing, part-time opportunities. And of course, I will shamelessly plug CareerRise in saying that we can assist you with connecting with your local school and setting up your internship or your career readiness program. So some things that you might want to account for, thinking about those different types of engagements um, for career exploration or field trips, having volunteers available, how many students can your facility accommodate, scheduling, can you provide lunch for the students, for job shadowing, thinking about how often do you meet with your mentee, what's the best way to present the day-to-day responsibilities, do you need to have a parental consent form? Um, it gets a little more complex with summer and academic year internships because you are working with a school system that has its own requirements, but certainly something that can be hashed out with that school. And then part-time jobs, really what you're looking at is some of those youth labor laws. And one of the biggest sticking points is we aren't allowed to hire anyone under 18 because of X. Well, I can tell you there are plenty of ways to get around that, including having the school or a partner like WorkSource be the employer of record so that you aren't taking on the liability risk of that under 18 person. It all comes back to insurance and liability. So in our workshop, we'll cover some things like the life cycle for youth employment, like the application period, really what that time frame can look like for you. And another key point I want to make is that a lot of times we at CareerRise are talking to HR managers or HR directors. And a lot of really good ideas about youth employment come from that mid-level management. But it is incredibly important to get that executive sponsorship. We're having a very similar conversation with our friends at MARTA about developing an internship program and an apprenticeship. And they have identified they really need that executive sponsorship to make this happen. So why it matters is that it sets the strategic alignment and gives it legitimacy, because if the boss says it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. It unlocks resources and removes barriers, meaning no one's going to hit the stop button because upper leadership is already in the loop and knows what's happening, and also drives organizational buy-in. This is a thing we are all doing. It is a thing that we have endorsed. It is something we're investing in. And then accountability and sustained commitment. When senior leaders are involved, it signals that this is something that's not a flash in the pan. It's a long-term commitment that will help sustain the program through leadership transitions or shifting priorities. So really important if you do want to get involved in youth work experiences, to take that up the chain to executive sponsorship. Samantha McCall in our chat says it's essential. So I think that puts the exclamation mark on the end of that sentence. Some quick tips for working with youth. Definitely want to create a welcoming and inclusive environment. Young people are sensitive. They are going to sense if they aren't welcome, if they aren't wanted there, and that's going to sour the experience for them. So it really needs to be a welcoming and inclusive environment. Young people also do well with clear expectations and structure. I don't know if you've ever played a game and never had the rules explained to you, but that is a imagine having never played Monopoly and you sit down to play Monopoly with your friends and they get mad at you for not knowing what it means when you land on Indiana Avenue, or what it means when you land on Community Guard. That is the experience we give young people sometimes, expecting them to know the rules of a game that they have never played. So it's really important to give that clear expectation and structure. Having a mentor is incredibly important. That is one of the most important things, having someone that they can rely on, can talk to, can ask questions in a non-judgmental way. It's not enough to just let them sit and absorb. Also incorporate some hands-on tasks. Encourage that open communication, encourage them to ask questions. That is the way they're going to learn. And then give them opportunities for skill development. If you're offering a training session to your employees, let the interns sit in. Let them learn too, and that will really help them in their career trajectory and preparing to enter the workforce. I'm going to go ahead and skip past the use cases. We have some use cases that we would love to share with you afterward or as part of the workshop. I do want to give a quick shout out to Accenture, who have done a really excellent job in creating a youth work experience in multiple ways, in multiple fashions. So appreciate their partnership and their thought leadership in this space. But so that I don't go on too much longer, I definitely want to give space for our two guests to come on and speak today. We have Allison Giddens, Co-President Operations with Wintech, and Jan Bennett, Operations Manager with Bryson Constructors, as part of our employer panel today to talk about how they have implemented youth work-based learning experiences. So Allison, Jan, good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
And I could not have picked two better representatives for this panel, because I called out there are two industries that have been historically unfriendly to young people in the workforce, and that is construction and manufacturing. And here we have a construction and manufacturing employer who are really leading the way in young people participating in work-based learning. So my first question is, what inspired your organization to create a youth employment program or a youth work-based learning program? And what were the goals you were hoping to achieve when you started? Whoever speaks first gets to go first.
You can go ahead, Allison.
All right, thanks. So really COVID was what inspired us. We initially here at Wintech, we are an aerospace machine shop, small business. We do not really have resources to bring on interns, but I have a very good relationship with a teacher, a local teacher, and somebody I cannot say no to. And he called and he said, "Can I please put a couple students in your facility just for a few weeks?" And he made it kind of a situation where I couldn't say no. And I said yes. And then COVID hit and I said, "Shucks, I guess we can't have them in here anymore." And then I realized I really couldn't just say no for good. And ultimately ended up creating a virtual version of the program because of it. and then thought, well, gee, if I'm doing this, then we don't have to bring on 2 interns. We can bring on 10 or 15 or 20 if it's going to be virtual. So that was essentially how one thing led to another. It was COVID that prompted it.
Thank you. Nothing spurs innovation like having the entire world turned upside down.
Right. I mean, ours was a little bit lackluster, but it was unique in its own right. So we are a family-owned business, and then got the opportunity to be second generation. So with the new or transition in the leadership, we are the younger version, and so we wanted to create a new strategic plan to recruit, train, and employ the youth. And so just like Nate said, there's a shortage in the pipeline here in the construction industry. And so it's so demanding and competitive. And so that inability to staff the projects and recruiting efforts and then truly engage with the younger demographic. And so with that lack in diversity with the recruiting efforts, we just reached out to unrepresented population like the high school students undecided going to college or the vocational path, and those students in jeopardy of not graduating. So coupled with how we feel about the youth, we put our heads together with our team, and like this is the direction we need to go to to see the old guys phase out and then bring some younger guys in before they leave so they can get trained the correct way.
Yeah. Very good history there, Jan. And the again comes from need, right? We
Right.
needed this strategic approach because times they are a changing. Next question I have for you is when you first launched your program, what steps did you take to get it off the ground? And what elements did you feel were the most important to include for students and for your company?
Jan, you go first on this one.
Perfect. Okay. It's just like Nate said, we had to identify the need and determine, who our target audience was. And so determine our efforts was kind of, a dual approach. We engaged with the, K through 8th grade, career focused, technical, and direct into the workforce students from 9th to 12th grade, the CTAE. And, I have a background in teaching as well before getting into the industry. So, really a passion about getting to the younger kids and trying to instill that into them. And then, steps to launch the program is, creating those alliances with the local trade organizations, nonprofits, and, really getting into the high schools and build an internship program that focus on the workforce development, like the CTAE programs and social services. And then we collaborated with local schools leadership to identify those students who would directly benefit from that. And then provided solutions addressing the social barriers and that you know really that what we seen that would prevent them participating in the program, like the financial part, the transportation with the high schools students that are graduating. Most of them don't have the cars, and so just those initiatives that showcase and provide accessibility for trade opportunities with mentorship in the industry, and guiding their career through a progressionary approach.
So for us, when we first launched what we call the Advanced Manufacturing Virtual Internship to get it off the ground, when COVID shut down the world and we realized we were going to need to create some sort of virtual version. My mom is a former executive producer at CNN and wrote teaching curriculum for years. So I called her and said, all right, how do I write curriculum? And so she walked me through some things, and we came up with essentially a 4-week program. And the whole point was to expose students to different industry opportunities in manufacturing. So I wanted to make sure that students understood that it wasn't all just about standing and pushing buttons at a machine or turning a wrench. Like, that's not what manufacturing is. So that was the point, was we wanted to make sure that, again, you can't be what you can't see. So we wanted to introduce students to as many of industry colleagues, industry peers as we could. So we created as a wide array of like industry days and kind of guest speakers, and tried to get as engaging as we could. So we had a panel in aerospace. We had a group come out, somebody speaking from Club Car from Augusta to talk about safety, and also about, you know, golf cart manufacturing. We had someone talk about Polaris and the manufacturing of RVs and off cart, you know, golf carts, the things that kind of would appeal to students and keep their interest. What we found, the elements that were most important to include, what we found were getting the industry involved, of course, but making sure that we tapped into the people we at WinTech we knew, because people want to help. Businesses, they want to help, but they want specific asks. Like, it's very nebulous when you say, oh, you know, industry needs to help educators and industry needs to help kids. Okay, well, how? Like, give me a specific ask. I found that 100% of the people said yes when I went to them and said, hey, can you speak about your career path on this day at this time to these students? I mean, everybody said yes. So I think that if we give people very specific asks, they're game to say yes. And those types of elements were important to bring in, because the students needed to see a lot of different brands, a lot of different opportunities. They needed to see that the everyday stuff in their lives, they touch a lot more manufacturing and construction than they realize day to day.
I think you made some really excellent, I mean, both of you made really excellent points, sort of understanding the realities of what these young people are going to face as they try to enter the workforce, like transportation. You know, we take for granted that we can all just get in our car and drive to work, but that's not true for someone who is, you know, maybe on a learner's permit or doesn't have a car yet. And Allison, I really like what you said there about being really specific with the ask of going beyond the we need help, and going into could you do this very specific thing, because that seems so much more manageable and easy to say yes to. Um, so great answers. Thank you both. Next question is, what challenges did you encounter while developing or running your employment program, and how did you address them?
Well, for us, it in the early days, it was easy to keep students engaged virtually because Zoom was fresh and new. You know, it was kind of a new thing. And then, as we all know, Zoom got old kind of quickly. And so it got a little bit tough the second and third years, kind of keeping students engaged. The second and third summers, the last thing people wanted to be on was Zoom, even though they would sign up for this 4-week program and get all excited the first day or two. All of a sudden, it was like, okay, it's 11 o'clock a.m. It's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday in July, and all your friends are out at the pool, and you've opted to do this. You know, you could tell, like, it was keeping students engaged. So over time, how we kind of improved the process was we integrated more applicable and more hands-on activities to do off screen. And we tried to incorporate real life things to students, to give them more, I would say, buy-in, but more free, like introduce to them real world stuff that would say, all right, here are some activities you can do. They're optional, but guess what? If you don't do them, you're not going to get a program completion certificate. You don't have to. I'm not going to force you to do these things. But if you do them and you do them right, they will come in handy later. So, for example, as we had a few different guest panels of different people in manufacturing come and speak, we asked them to do a certain type of career personality survey, and they didn't have to turn in the results to me, but they had to summarize kind of what their strengths were and submit those to me. And their responsibilities were, over those 2 days of the panels, were to think about the career paths of the people that spoke, and think about the strengths that they spoke about, and think about where they saw themselves in those people. And would those careers be something that they would consider? Because the whole point that I was trying to make to them is you can't be what you can't see. And possibly they might be really good at things that they had no idea existed. And so those kinds of things, and I had really good feedback at the end of the year that we did that. So that had good results. But those kinds of things we found had some success as we were developing that.
And then for us, we kind of there were two challenges that kind of stick off the page. One was that we didn't recognize that the opportunity and compensations were not enough for these students, and I don't think we did a good job of showcasing the potential career progression. Through our internship, we kind of focused on a specific role and pay, but didn't do really expose the hierarchy of those roles and how attainable those positions were. And the second challenge were the social and professionalism, right? And then again, we go back to lack of transportation. So construction, it's a early bird sport, and our intern students required to be at the job site at 6:30. And most of the high school students didn't have a car, or if their parents did, they were already taking themselves to work. So just those kind of things, you know we saw as a major downfall. And so our solutions for next year is, the program is going to be more strategic, long-term phase approach, and the students just to be in the field or actually doing the work for a specific period of time. And then we'll bring them into the office with the office engineers, and then get them engaged with the pre-con team, estimating, project management, and some shadowing of the executive teams, right? Just to show them, all right, this is how construction work, and here are all of the jobs within that, to get you to that next level. And then also the proposed solution for some of the social barriers were, we will provide MARTA cards and assist with their transportation. Um, but getting some, one of the examples is, one guy had to get up at 4:30, had to walk, and then get to the bus station to then get to the train station. So just trying to adjust the hours of the internship to make it commuter safe and more attainable for riding the public transportation. And then as far as that, place stipends that would benefit them, and offer assistance with buying the PPE required, like the boots and the work pants, the vests, and all that good stuff. And then, provide students with basic business um, professionalism, like how to interview, what to wear, proper steps, providing, resignation, communication, and those things. So just, I getting engaged early, and finding that happy medium with the transportation and using public transportation, and then those soft life skills that we want to engage at an earlier time.
Well, Jan, you touched on this a little bit already, I think, but it leads really nicely into my next question, which is, as you think about the future, what plans do you have to expand, evolve, or improve your program to better serve these young people and your company?
So we still, we're gonna target the high schools, because that's just a passion of mine coming from teaching the high school. And I feel like I taught more life than anything with those kids. And so really it's just to breathe life into them and then expose them to what they don't know. Most of the, preconception of construction is, you see the guys um with the white hard hat and shirts, and or you see the opposite end of the guys just in the trenches and dirty, and they've worked a very hard long day. So we want to progressively get in front of them at an earlier time and invest and show them that we have that relationship, and like we are wanting to help you with your future, right? And with construction, there is, you can make a lot of money with that. And these guys are looking for to get out of their situation or find a career path that's benefiting to them and their family. So just providing training at an early age, and then, fostering that environment. And so that way, we just not in their lives for these 8 weeks, right? We're coming in and teaching them life skills beyond the field and what we're doing, and then also making an impact on your community. How like for me, I get to build, at the world's busiest airport, right? I'm sitting here at the project site, and getting them exposed to that and getting them excited, and getting them a part of that. So leading into the future is really showing them what their future could be, from our perspectives, and giving them a pathway to get there in a hierarchy, from starting at the bottom, maybe sweeping floors, but next thing you know, you're running a company.
Very good. Thank you. What about you, Allison?
As long as time permits each year, we'll continue hosting the program each summer. We have hosted anywhere from 10 to 15 students. That's kind of that magic sweet spot, has been like 12 to 15 students. And it's every summer, typically just the month of July, because I know summer seems to get shorter and shorter every year. So it's typically just that month of July. And it's about an hour or two for 3 or 4 days in July. We recognize that a lot of students also have, especially juniors in high school, have jobs during the summer as well. So we're kind of cognizant on, we don't want to be conflicting with anyone trying to raise money for college or trade school or anything like that, or the future. So as long as our time permits as well, because I know 1 year between COVID and now, we were not able to host just for our own workload. But yeah, so we've hosted mostly Georgia kids. I say kids, students. But we've also hosted few people from Texas, Oklahoma, New Jersey, Florida. There was one student from Dubai. And so at noon our time, it was pretty late for her. So people from all over.
Excellent. And then I have one last question for you, Allison. So when you created your internship, you created an open source curriculum and made it publicly available. Can you share why you chose that approach and what impact you've seen from making that resource accessible to others?
Sure. Yes. So the value in hosting and the value in the actual program is the hosting and the speaking and the volunteering and presenting. The value itself is not in the curriculum. So I have made it open source, and I don't allow it to be sold, because the value is in the volunteers committing time. The value is in evolving it and kind of massaging it to fit your company. There have been a few people to take the program and turn it into something that has become really beneficial for their organizations. There's been a particular a peer of mine who's taken it for a neurodiverse, a young adult group, and taken it into the hotel industry. And it has helped them kind of pre-vet and pre-plan for young adults to get used to a certain industry before actually coming on site. So that's been fantastic. There's also been a whole a company in the UK to take this on and use it as a precursor for their on-site internships. So it's almost like an onboarding version for their internships. And so really it's just a matter of I don't allow it to be sold, because a lot of the companies that I would hope use it aren't ones that are cash flush. They're like mine, they're small businesses, they're Jan's, they're family owned, they're people that we'd rather put the money into the actual employees and the actual business rather than stuff like this. So
That's beautiful, and I love that the impact has gone beyond your business, but I mean globally at this point. I think that's a really cool thing. That is all the questions I have today. We've had a couple of questions dropped in the chat that I'll read for you guys. First question comes from Tony Davis, and he says, for many of our college alumni, securing internship placements has been extremely challenging. For instance, I recently supported 10 juniors and seniors who applied to a company offering only 2 available positions and the company received over 500 applications. This is just one example, but the outcome is often the same: high interest, limited opportunities, and tough competition. Do you have any suggestions?
Oh, yes. So, funny, this actually just came up. So, I had a student email me on Monday morning that I had in the program 2 years ago. And I remember him, very bright student. And he reaches out and he says, I don't know if you remember me. I'm like, of course I remember you. And he said, I remember one of the things that you really, really pushed into our brains was the power of networking. And the reason that everybody was coming on to talk to us is that you wanted us to stay in touch with people and connect with them on LinkedIn. And when the time came, stay involved with their companies and get familiar with their companies and watch what they have for internships. And he said, and there was somebody that came on and he mentioned the company name and he said, and I've been watching them and I really like their company and they have these internships and I really like to apply, but I don't know how comfortable I am talking to her. So can you make introductions? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, that is why I'm here. That now you're getting it. And so I emailed my friend and said, I explained the situation. She happily applied. Within 24 hours, I got an email back. She's like, oh, heck yes, because I sent the kid's resume. I keep calling them kids. I shouldn't call them kids. Student's resume. And he did the right thing because he is looking for a summer 2026 internship, and it's the fall right now. So his timing is very good. She had a phone call with him on Tuesday evening. She calls me and she says, I've already got 150 applications for an internship that's going to hold 5 kids. She goes, now I'm already going to hold one of those spots for this guy. And that's, I think, what needs to happen is I think students, juniors, seniors, heck, middle school students, we need to start teaching students. Yes, of course, it is what you know. It is also who you know. And it is the power of networking. And it is the power of connection. It's the power of, it's not just connecting on LinkedIn and, okay, great, now when I need you, I'm going to reach out. It is the power of getting to know companies and brands. And Jan and I, we don't do these things. Yes, we do them because we love them, but we also do them for our brand and for our companies. It's because we want the best of the best. And we want, when one of Jan's interns goes back to high school, goes back to class, and somebody says, hey man, where were you yesterday? The guy can say, oh, well, I was at work. Well, what do you do? And he says it. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, Jan's got a phone call from somebody. Hey, what's this internship that I heard my buddy say? It's those kinds of things. So I think we as professionals in industry and as educators and everyone in between, we need to do a better job, not hand-holding sons and daughters, but teaching kids, teaching students from a very early age to be their own advocates and recognize they can't just be a resume in a stack. They have to figure out how to stick themselves out.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of that, and that's why we try to approach the younger kids, and it's based on communication, right? If you have can communicate very well, you can establish those relationships, and then that way you can self-advocate and ask the right questions and pull that information out. And it starts from that. So Allison, you did a great job explaining what we try to do. And so to get those one-off kids that are super special, and teach them like, hey, that networking, they'll use your resources, right? And that's awesome to hear back, that one of your kids, I call them kids too, that it came back to you and use you. And that's what we love. We love using that to help foster you to get to where you want to go. And so I tell the kids, even if it's not with me, tell me what you want, and I can, I know someone else in the field. If it's not just, it's a plumber, or if it's HVAC, or if it's electricians, then I know those people. So, communicate what you want so we can get you where you want to go and get you what you need.
Well said, both of you. Thank you so much. We are in the middle of our giving campaign of When Workforce Works. So we would love to invite you to donate to CareerRise today. When you give, you're not just donating, you are removing obstacles, powering potential, and ensuring our workforce can rise. You can scan that QR code there, or visit our website to learn more about the When Workforce Works giving campaign. To stay involved with us, of course, tune into our monthly webinars, sign up for our digest, and follow us on LinkedIn. And the link for our digest is in the chat. Join us on the third Thursday of each month for our webinars. Next month, we will be showcasing one of our partnerships with First Step Staffing. And then we will have our webinar on building your first youth apprenticeship in November. So make sure to join us the next couple of months. Make sure to complete your post-webinar survey that will pop up. And if you want to save any of the links or resources that were shared today, use the 3-dot button in your chat bar to click and select Save Chat. But wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, email, call us, and we will see you next month. Take care.